StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello, Namaskar, Namaskara, Namaskaram, Namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class, The Daily Current Affairs, where we will learn significant events of the past 24 hours in such a manner that you will not only develop knowledge and conceptual clarity, but also how to tackle preliminary questions. Because the real test comes when you are asked questions about something you have read. So, I'm here to help you on a daily basis. Other than this, I will also tell you how UPSC tricks us by giving us certain statements which we may think that we know it, but it distorts the statement and makes you question your entire sanity. So here I am to help you understand that only. Do not try to make notes because I provide the notes through PDF and that is available on the Telegram channel Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you want to prepare for answer writing as well, I also conduct answer writing sessions over here. Next, you also can talk to me on my Instagram if you have any questions regarding this examination strategy making or doubt clearing session. All right. Now let's begin. Before we begin, let's look at these many important events that we have to cover. This was a previous question that I gave you to solve, and I will take the names of those students who have answered it correctly by the end of this segment. Stay tuned. So before I delve into the practice question, I would like to inform you that we are now having our next batch. This is the P2I batch, and this will be a morning batch starting from 11th of August at 8 a.m. Do not worry if you someday miss any class. We will also provide you the recorded version of it. Generally, it will be live classes. That means you and I will be able to interact through these classes. Other than this, you will also be provided daily current affairs module. Answer writing practice on a daily basis will be done. Mains residential program is the biggest thing. If you qualify prelims 2024, which you will do if you get enrolled in this particular batch and follow the strategy, you will be called to the StudyIQ campus to study with us for 4 months without any elevated charges. This batch will be available in Hindi, English and a hybrid batch English. So, if you want to take admission for UPSC 2024, do it now. 70,000 is the cost, but if you use the code PD Live, it will be made available at just rupees 29,999. Now, let's solve this last practice question together. The Justice Rohini Commission, recently seen in the news, is related to abrogation of Article 370. This is also in the news. Kuki Chain tribes in the news since past couple of months. Subcategorization of other backward classes and Western Ghats. So, if you're a student who is reading daily current affairs, you can definitely answer this question well. The correct answer will be subcategorization of OBC. The Justice Rohini Commission was constituted back in the year 2017, and its job was to submit a report on the subcategorization of OBC within few weeks. But it has got extension for more than 10 times since its formation. Why? Why, you must ask? Because this is a political sensitive matter. Any categorization, if it is implemented within the OBC, it will change the fabric of OBCs. That is why, because it is a politically sensitive matter, it has taken time. All right, understand it from that perspective. Next, what is subcategorization within the OBC? We know that reservation is provided for the OBCs of 27% in government jobs and educational institutions. The necessity arose when it was felt that certain category within the other backward classes, because it is not just one caste, many castes are there. Because of so many backward classes within one particular umbrella, it was thought that few categories are getting the benefit of the reservation, others are not. This was an actual problem. There was also a problem of repetition of certain castes. So the actual benefit, which should be having an equitable distribution, was not being done within the OBCs. There, this need arose that we need subcategorization within the OBCs. So for that, Justice Rohini Commission was formulated, and that is why it is important for us to know about this entire scenario. Now, the correct answer will be option C, subcategorization of OBCs. So October 2, 2017, it was constituted. It had to submit its report, but took many years. 27% reservation is provided to the OBCs, and there are more than 2600 entries that is in the central list of the OBCs. Within this, there needed to be a subcategorization in this only. Not new categories are not being created within the OBC only, so that there can be an assurance for equitable distribution of the benefits of the reservation. When this report was being submitted, as in it was being thought out throughout the time since 2017, in 2020 a Supreme Court judge bench said, a Supreme Court Constitution judge bench said that we need to revisit the 2005 decision of the E.V. Chinnaya versus State of Andhra Pradesh. And that was enough to know about that. Of course, there is a need for subcategorization. There was also a data that was provided which shows that 97% of all the jobs in education seats have gone to just 25% of the OBC caste. That means there is a dominance of a particular caste within the OBC, and that defeats the entire purpose. Also, 24.95% of these jobs and seats have gone to the 10 OBC communities. Other than this, as many as 983 OBCs, that is 37% of them, they have no representation at all. But this data is questionable. Why? Because it is not based on the updated population data. Still, we can get an idea about it. You do not need to remember this, but just a gist of it is okay. But if you can, you have to remember. If you will produce this data in your examination, then it can fetch you brownie marks. Now, the basic terms of reference. What are terms of reference? On the points on which a committee, a commission, or an institution has to ponder or think or work. These are the terms of reference. So, examine the extent of inequitable distribution that has been done within the communities. We have to, through this committee, also had to work on mechanism, criteria, norms and parameters in scientific approach when it comes to subcategorization, as in on what basis the subcategories are being made. What is the criteria these castes are meeting that they are being called a subcategory under it? What are the norms? What is the basic scientific approach that this committee is taking? Identifying the respective caste or communities or subcaste or synonyms in the central list of OBCs. That means if one particular caste is being called by different names, that also had to be pointed out. Also, classifying them into their respective subcategories, various entries into the central list of OBCs. In this only the subcategorization had to be done. If there is any correction or any repetition, ambiguity, inconsistency or error is happening with respect to spelling or transcription, that also was one of the terms of reference, although this was added later on. Originally there were only 3. This was the 4th one. This is the actually 3rd one. I have broken down them into points so that better understanding could be developed, but this was the last one to be added. Okay, consider the following statements. The WHO good manufacturing practices for the pharma industry covers the training and personal hygiene of staff as well. India incorporated the GMP only in the year 2018 in the Schedule M of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and pharmaceutical companies in India having an annual turnover of less than rupees 250 crore need not implement the good manufacturing practices of the WHO. So how many of them is or are correct? C. Good manufacturing practices is a system that has been developed by the WHO in order to ensure the quantity and the quality of medicines that is being traded around the world. And India, we know that India's pharma industry is the 3rd largest by volume, as in the amount that any country produces is the volume, and we are the 3rd largest. This is a huge contribution. Also, right now our pharma industry is $50 billion. By the year 2024, we are aspiring to become a $65 billion pharma industry. And by the year 2030, it will be risen to $130 billion. Do you know that 50% of the generics that we trade goes to Africa? Then 40% goes to the USA, generics. Also, in vaccinations, we are also one of the top exporters of vaccines. So this all needs a revamping, as in if any portion of our pharma industry is not doing well when it comes to the manufacturing, we have to ensure that we get them into the good manufacturing practices. Okay, so this is the entire gist of it. And the WHO GMP for the pharma industry not only covers the premises, the starting of the manufacturing, but also training the personal hygiene of staff as well. These all are also covered. So first is correct. India actually incorporated the GMP much ahead of 2018, although there was an amendment which was made which was incorporated in the year 2018. So second statement, because of this particular thing, is incorrect, because here it is written India incorporated the GMP only in the year 2018. No, it incorporated it years ahead, but amendment was made in 2018. Pharmaceutical companies that have an annual turnover of more than 250 crore. Here it is not more than but less than. I'm talking about more than 250 crore. If any pharma companies turnover is more than that, then they have to mandatorily implement the good manufacturing practices within 6 months. This is the recent notification that has been issued by the central government. And for those companies which have an annual turnover of less than 250 crores, they have to do it within 12 months. So first is correct, second is incorrect, and third is also incorrect, because here it is written that they need not implement the GMP. No, they need to within 12 months. Okay, so first correct, second incorrect, third is also incorrect. Only one will be the correct answer. Pharmaceutical companies, I have already told you about this, and also this, and the draft of the Schedule M of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, which was prepared in 2018, has been approved as well as implemented. GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices, is a system for ensuring that products are consistently produced according to the certified standards. And this is done in order to minimize the risk, such as if there is any sort of contamination in the drugs that are being used, it can cause fatality of whoever is consuming it. If there is an exchange of label or interchange of label, any person can end up taking more or less of that medication, or they can take the wrong medication. That is also having health implications. That is why good manufacturing practices are there. Also, from the starting material, premises, equipment, to the training and personal hygiene of the staff is also covered under it. Moving on, India is a major exporter of medicine to low and middle income countries which require WHO GMP certification. If we have to look at from the export perspective, MSMEs are doing great when it comes to the pharma industry. If we become a GMP, WHO GMP implementing country in those areas as well, we will do great when it comes to exports. It will give an export boost to our medicines. Also, we see that these kind of news where cough syrups which were exported to different African countries, they wreaked havoc in those nations when children consume them. So in order to take care of all these kind of mishappenings, this GMP practices, they have to be there. The GMP was first incorporated in the Schedule M in 1988 and the amendment was done in the year 2018. Okay, remember 1988. Alright, moving on. The fossils of Perusatus colossus has recently been unearthed in Peru. So what is it we have to know? Early bird, early reptile, early whale, early cactus. Where is Peru? Here is Peru. It's a South American country. Here only we saw that unearthing of this particular whale. It is an early whale that has been unearthed. It was huge. Thankfully, we do not live in this era. But this tells us that evolution can ensure that such things occur which are beyond our imagination. Right now, if you're going to search about the largest mammal on the earth, it will be blue whale. Can you imagine a bigger creature, much bigger creature than blue whale? I will show it to you. The correct answer here will be option C. Now, journal Nature, in here only, this has been published that Perusatus colossus has been the biggest mammal to be living in the history of the earth as of yet. And as you can see, the partial skeleton of Perusatus colossus, which is an extinct whale, thank God, it challenges the blue whale as the heaviest animal, and it was first discovered in Peru. Okay, so you see, this is blue whale as compared to this. Look at this early whale, how big it was. And it has also been found that it was bigger than even certain dinosaurs. So can you imagine certain and many dinosaurs? So it is 20 meters long. It weighed approximately up to 340 metric tons, and it lived 38 to 40 million years ago during the Eocene epoch. Okay. Let's move on. Now let's talk about the next question. With respect to lithium, consider the following statements. Lithium is in the alkali group and is found only in petalite. India is the 5th largest lithium resource in the world. Lithium is used in some non-rechargeable batteries. So what do we have to see? How many statements given above is or are correct? See, lithium is a silvery white metal. It is the lightest metal known as of yet, and it has a good specific heat capacity. So it is used in rechargeable as well as non-rechargeable batteries. In rechargeable, we can call about electronics such as laptops, phones, your electric vehicles, EVs. All this will include lithium. Other than this, in pacemakers, toys, here also lithium batteries are used. So it can be used for both rechargeable and non-rechargeable batteries. Third is correct. Lithium earlier, for the first time ever, it was found in petalite, mineral petalite. But later on, other minerals also emerged in which lithium was found. So not only in petalite, but also other elements, other minerals. So that makes the first statement because of this incorrect. But yes, it is in the alkali group of chemicals. So first, because of the second data is incorrect. This is how UPSC will trick you. It will club 2 or more information together, facts together. One is correct or 2 are correct and 1 is not correct. These are the kind of issues that UPSC creates. So be sure that you have revised your current affairs. India is actually the 5th largest lithium resource in the world, specifically after the reserves were found out in Jammu and Kashmir. So first is incorrect, second is correct, third is also correct. 2 only will be the correct answer. I have asked you this question because the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill of 2023 is going to amend the Mines Minerals Act of 1957. Under this, the private sectors have been given the freedom to extract 6 out of 12 atomic minerals. Earlier, all the 12 atomic minerals were prohibited from the private sector, and this also includes lithium, deep-seated elements such as gold and silver. Also, according to this particular bill that has been brought out, not only lithium but beryllium, niobium, titanium, tantalum and zirconium along with deep-seated minerals can also be extracted. As in, the central government still has the powers to exclusively auction the areas to those private sectors, which of course have another process. But still, central government has the powers. These are critical minerals because they are used in critical technologies. Chemical, it is a chemical element with an atomic number 3, as you can see beside me, the silvery white metal that it is. And it is the lightest metal to be known till now. And lithium has the highest specific heat of any solid element. That means the amount of heat that is needed to raise the temperature. Also, it was earlier initially found in petalite, but later on in spodumene and lepidolite as well. Okay, moving on. India has now the 5th largest lithium resource in the world. As you can see, the biggest one, Chile has it. We also have the lithium triangle over there. And lithium reserves were found in Jammu and Kashmir for the first time. That has raised our resources. Okay, rechargeable batteries that include mobile phones, laptops, digital cameras, EVs. Along with that, things like heart pacemakers, toys and clocks. Here also lithium can be used. Alright, so these are the kind of questions that UPSC will throw at you. If you have not read anything properly, you can get into a lot of trouble for that because you won't be able to solve it. It must be stored in vacuum so that contamination doesn't take place, or in liquids also such as purified kerosene or mineral oil. Consider the following statements with respect to the Forest Amendment Bill of 2023. It seeks to exempt linear infrastructure such as roads and railway projects from seeking forest clearance permission if they are located within 200 km of the national border. That means it wants to ensure that strategic border areas are well connected. The redefining of forest will affect in a significant way about 40% of the Aravalli range. So what do we have to see? Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Now the central government through this bill has tried to redefine forest. Earlier, if any area was considered a deemed forest, that also was included in the forest. But now, any forest which is actually notified as a forest under the Forest Act of 1927, along with that, in the government records, if it is being shown as a forest, then only it will be considered as forest. And that will affect approximately 40% of the Aravalli ranges, which is already infested by mining. So, second statement is correct. And it also seeks to exempt linear projects such as roads and railway connections if they are falling within the 100 kilometer of national border, not 200. Now the thing is how to define strategic interest roads and railways. How do you define that? This is an open-ended definition. So we do not know what interpretation can be made over here. But the biggest reason, according to the government, is to ensure that these border areas are perfectly connected in the case of any issues arise with neighbors. So first is incorrect. Because of this, it should be 100, and second is definitely correct. 2 only will be the correct answer. Rajya Sabha may pass this particular bill, and the bill seeks to amend the Forest Act of 1980 to make it applicable to certain types of land, and it also exempts certain types of land from the purview of the act. That means they can be open to any sort of exploitation. These include land within the 100 kilometers of the country's borders. Okay. Also, provide access to small establishments and habitation is one of its regions, so that border villages can be maintained. And a state government requires prior approval of the central government to assign forest land to any entity which is not owned or controlled by the government. Moving on. It stipulates that only those lands that were notified as forest under the Indian Forest Act of 1927, any other relevant law, if there is any other law other than this particular law, or were recorded as forest in the government records, will now be acknowledged as forest and nowhere else. So now, those areas which were considered deemed forest, which were actually important, now they are also open to exploitation. This will impact 40% of the Aravalli ranges, which are over here. And as you can see, it is already infested by mining. And this will create another problem. Also, not only the Aravalli range, but 95% of the Niyamgiri hills will also be impacted in Odisha. Here it is. And here it is home to the Dongariya Kond, which is a particularly vulnerable tribal group. We have only 75. So how will the government rehabilitate them, as now it's very much open to exploitation? It is yet to be seen. Moving on. Consider the following statements with respect to the Akash weapon system. It has road and rail transportability. The entire weapon system has been configured on mobile platforms. That means it can move from one place to another. The range of operation can be up to 100 kilometers. It has high immunity against active as well as passive jamming. That means it cannot be defunctioned by any sort of interference. How many of these statements given above is or are not correct? See, as it is mobile, it is configured with mobility. It can be transported through roads and rails. This is definitely correct, and second is also correct. The range of operation right now, according to the website, is up to 25 kilometers, not 100. And it has high immunity against active and passive jamming. So how many are not correct? 1. These 3 are correct, 1, 2 and 4. Third is not correct, 1 only will be the correct answer. The Bharat Dynamics Limited, it has handed over the first radio frequency seeker of Akash, the next generation weapon system. This was designed by DRDO, but it was manufactured by BDL. This radio frequency tracker seeker, we can call it, it will ensure that at the terminal stages of attack by Akash, it is able to target the correct target that it is going for. So it is a critical and technology intensive subsystem used in the surface to air or air to air missile, and it target tracking in the terminal phase. It does. It is designed by DRDO's Research Center Imarat and produced by BDL at its facility. As you can see, Akash is a short range surface to air missile. That means it will move from the surface to the air, and it is going to protect vulnerable areas and points from air attacks. Then its range of operation is 4.5 km to 25 km. Altitude is 100 to 20 kilometers. Okay, 100 meter to 20 kilometers. Length is this much. This is not very important. Guidance system, it is guided by command system. Other than this, all the other sufficient information is given over here, in which it is fully automatic with quick response system. Its target types are helicopters, fighter aircrafts, unmanned aerial vehicles. Other than this, it has many other secured mode of communication as well. It's very immune to active and passive jamming. The e-care portal, which has been recently launched is related to, by the government it should be there, is related to senior citizens who live abroad and have been abandoned by children, war veterans who have no children, bringing mortal remains of Indians who die abroad, healthcare workers who retire but have no families. So the correct answer is actually among all these, option C. It is to bring remains, mortal remains of those who have died abroad. And through this portal, this will facilitate swift transfer of mortal remains of Indians who die abroad. Through this portal, intimation will be sent in the form of email, SMS, and WhatsApp to Central International Health Division, Nodal Officer Consignee, and the airlines, so that cross-border transport of mortal remains can happen. Okay, moving on. Practice question I have given you over here. You have to answer it correctly so that I can take your names in the next class. Consider the following states: Himachal Pradesh, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka. How many of the above mentioned states have a fifth schedule areas? Okay, have fifth schedule areas. Now let me take the names of those students who have answered the last question correctly. Many of you have answered the last question correctly. So yes, Simran has answered it correctly. Riya, Mandeep, Siddharth, Sandhya Rani, Tejas, Yalalinga, Prakhar, Padmashri, thank you Padmashri, Prabhat, Pooja, Om Sharma, User Z has answered it correctly. Priyadarshan, Prosit, Nandini, Shubham, Vibhav, Yash, Kaushik, Aman, Vignesh, Vivek, Abhiraj, Abhishek, then Mallinath, Rohit, Khushi, user TS8RR, Santosh, Mansi, Bishruti, then Sushil, Krishna, Himansh, Shiraz. Anybody who has a username that is not readable, please make it readable, as in you can make it readable by editing. Other than this, you can also comment with your names, okay, so that it becomes easier for me, because user something looks very odd to me. Okay, so now I ask the next question. Before that, more students are there, such as Ankur, Arpita, then Music, Satyam, Shubrit, Rasmita, Mayur, also Ashu, NDA, Vinamra, Rishabh, Pooja Gupta, Mukul, Shoaib, Deepak. Very good, congratulations. Now answer this next question as well. I will see you soon in the next class. Thank you so much.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।